Welcome everyone. This is a video covering a race at Sydney Motorsport Park on the 23rd of October 2022. It was round 7 of the Combined Sports Cars Association Supersprint Championship and was held at Sydney Motorsport Park on the North Circuit, which is the Druitt, which takes in the main straight and then sort of shortcuts after turn 3 and joins up sort of where Corporate Hill exit is, and then you end up at the top end of the circuit again. It was a pretty grey day, as you can see. There was lots of wet patches. It rained before our first run, so it was sort of changeable conditions. Big field, wide variety of cars, something for everyone. A lot of interesting cars in all different classes. 80 plus cars, I think it was. So the event organisers put us into groups. I think there were 7 groups based on car speed, basically. That's how these type of events work. So you nominate a time that you've set at this particular track in the car that you're entered in on the day, and that gives the organisers a bit of an idea of where you should be, because Super Sprint's a bit like a time attack in that all you're trying to do is set one fast lap time. You're not racing the guy next to you. Although there are classes and you are racing against people, basically everyone's racing against the clock individually. So the idea is that you don't want cars there that are a lot faster or a lot slower than anyone else. So they try and group you into similar speed cars so that there's minimal overtaking, because you're not jostling for track position essentially, you're just trying to set a fast lap. So they send you out in pairs of similarly timed or speed cars, and you go from there. And then obviously, if competitors can work it out amongst themselves. They do let you overtake. They like you to use straights, but they don't want to see dive bombing and obviously crashes and incidents. The challenge for us this time was that because we haven't run this car at this circuit before, we didn't have a time to nominate, so we got put into the fastest group, Group 1, but at the start of the day they put us at the end of the group, behind quite a few of the other sort of cars, and a time was made up until we actually get out there and have a run. But because of the weather, it was rainy and it was grey and greasy at the best of times, so even if you had a good time in dry conditions, it probably wouldn't be all that relevant anyway. So after getting everything up to temperature, and if you've got a clear track in front of you, as I have now, off you go and try and set a PB. My little dashboard you can see down in front gives me my best lap time, as well as an indication as I'm going with a series of green or red lights up the side of the display, with a predicted lap time as to whether or not I'm setting faster sector times than my best or slower. So it'll light up green if I'm going faster, or red if I'm actually behind my best time. It's a really handy tool. It's probably the only thing I look at while I'm going. The other things you can see is there's a gear indicator and some warning lights and other bits and pieces, but really my eyes are outside the car. I glance down at the dash occasionally down the main straight. Off we go. And I didn't have, as I said, I hadn't run this car at this track before, and certainly it was very greasy, as you can see. So it was just about having fun, keeping the car on the track, and just sort of gradually seeing how far I could chip off my PB. So it didn't take long, and I caught some of the other cars. This was okay because, as I said before, my dash gives me a reference as to whether I'm on a quick lap or not. So a quick glance down and I know whether or not I need to get past the person quickly or not, ideally. This event, like most, the onus to overtake safely is on the overtaking car, which in this instance is me. So, giving the other competitor plenty of time to see me in their mirrors, not dive bombing or doing anything silly, but this guy thankfully just moved over off the racing line and let me through, so he was looking in his mirrors. Thanks, buddy. And if I see green lights and I come up behind a car, then I try and maintain my speed. If I see a bunch of red lights and I'm not going my best anyway, then there's really no point pressing on with it. So I would either hang back, wait until the guy definitely sees me or a really safe opportunity to get past, and then make my move and go for another cracking lap. One of the other very cool cars on the day was this blue JWS Le Mans car that we went out behind for this run. He didn't run early in the morning when it was actually raining. I don't know whether maybe he didn't have wets or whatever, but we went out behind him on this run thinking, this will be cool. We'll see how long we can hang on to the back of this thing. So the JWS Le Mans Coupe has got a V8 transaxle mounted in the back. Very, very powerful, lots of good aerodynamics in the car. So we thought we'd see how long we can hang on to the back, and certainly when we get to the straight sections, as you can see, he has no trouble building a gap, and he's gone. I mean, we've got a 1.3 litre 4-cylinder GSXR Hayabusa Suzuki motorbike engine in our car, and it's reasonably effective, but quite clearly the horsepower and torque of the V8 was no match for us in a straight line. But surprisingly, we noticed fairly quickly that we had no trouble closing the gap back down under brakes, and mid-corner speed, we definitely had the upper hand. So at turn 2, when it was nice and safe and plenty of space, we actually said goodbye to the JWS. We ended up second outright at the end of the day, first in class, which we were stoked with considering the conditions, and we hadn't driven this car at this track before. The day was won by a similar sports prototype racer I'm going to say a much more sophisticated car than ours. A Juno LMP3, and yeah, this thing's powered by a Duratec 2 litre, and the driver was local and very, very skilled, very comfortable in the car, been racing it all his life essentially. So yeah, so he won the day, but we were really happy to take second outright out of such a huge field.